Alright, bro. Thoughts at the spot. You ready or what?
Yes, sir.
So we got here episode 1. With myself, Javier, and Ceelos here recording our first podcast. Where we throw thoughts out there. We'll see, we agree, we don't agree. And just anything that's trending, anything that we think of, like we want to tell everybody and share our thoughts. So, yes, Ceelos, what's the topic for today? What do you got for us?
I think today we could talk about the new Marvel lineup that was released at San Diego Comic-Con 2 weeks ago. A lot of cool stuff coming out. Me and myself, I'm a bit of a Marvel fan, so always hyped up for that type of stuff. I don't know if that was something that you were able to see. But a lot of stuff coming out from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Loki. I don't know if you saw the first season. But a lot of cool stuff coming out.
Yeah. What's your take? So what we got for phase? What would it be? Phase 4, phase 5?
For phase 4, we got coming out Ant-Man. That's the first thing coming out in February of next year. We also have Secret Invasion. Guardians of the Galaxy, also Echo, Loki Season 2, The Marvels, Blade, Ironheart, Agatha. The one I'm hyped up for is Daredevil, Captain America, and Thunderbolts, all being released all through 2023 and 2024. They also took out for Phase 6. They announced a couple products, or movies, starting with Fantastic Four, Avengers, The Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret Wars.
Nice. What's your thoughts though? Do you feel like with the all these projects coming out, like, do you see that as a, because I was reading some articles saying that the CGI department kind of has too much going on, so the quality of it, it's not as good as the phase 3. So what's your thoughts behind that? You think that's gonna affect any of the quality, or do you think that's gonna?
I mean, I think just with everything, right? I think just with Marvel taking so much stuff, right? I mean, we have other stuff like DC that has nothing lined up. Whereas a fan, you gotta understand that as these things come out, like I said, the whole 2023, 2024, you have something coming out. It takes a hit on the quality of the CGI, so I understand that aspect. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be horrible, but I do know that it could potentially take a hit just because of all the stuff that is coming out.
Yeah.
So,
like me, for one big example would be like the Doctor Strange. If it's spoilers, if you haven't seen this, is at the end, the eye. It was like, to me, it was just like the quality of it was. I feel like I could have probably done something better. Hoping, just taking a few courses and figuring out this CGI programming. And then now, like the release of She-Hulk, with Disney Plus, like you feel like they should have done She-Hulk how they done Hulk, or are you okay with how they have it?
I mean, just with the eye, I mean, I kind of see it. I mean, the eye, I mean, it looks kind of crappy, but like I said, I mean, it came out at the end of the movie. Throughout the whole movie, I feel like the CGI was fairly well, so I mean, I understand that. The She-Hulk, I mean, does look pretty bad, but I think it's just the trailers. I think Disney is hearing all of us complain about it, so I think they'll go and fix that.
I don't know, man. I feel like hopefully it's not. It's just throwing a lot. I mean, I still haven't myself haven't caught up with any of the WandaVisions and.
Have you not seen that, man? It's important, but yeah, I just think with so much stuff coming out, it's just hard, because you gotta understand that. I mean, these movies and series just take time, and I'm pretty sure that's just why you're seeing a little hit take, especially from what you see in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The CGI, they had a little bit more time to prepare. I mean, for the Avengers movies, you've got a year apart when you got Infinity War and Endgame, but now you have Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars being released in the same year. So it's just Marvel, they've been busy, man. So
yeah, I think I feel like it's a lot going on with their projects, and hopefully, my thoughts on that, like, they don't really mess up the quality of it. But I mean, it's back to back. The movies have been great, so I mean, nothing to complain. But hopefully, it's something we get something really fun and something to look forward to. That leads me to my thought, my topic here. What's the whole dimensions? What's your thoughts on the whole like the dimensions as far as like for me personally, like looking at how at the end was it Endgame where Captain America goes back and travels to put back his Infinity Stone, and he just kind of stays in that timeline. Do you feel like it kind of went with the whole how it should be with the Marvel where the dimension stayed the same, or do you feel like Loki kind of made a change to the whole dimensions by at the end of Loki, how when he who was that one that he ended? Who was the one that he killed?
Kang the Conqueror?
Yeah.
Well, it's the one that remains. I think that's what he was called in Loki. Honestly, man, it's all confusing to me still. Right? I think that's why everybody's been saying it. We all want to see it. Is it just a series on just Captain America? Just a series on how he returns those stones. But I think when it comes to dimensions and in the Marvel universe, it's just it's hard to talk about because I mean, as a Marvel fan, we still have questions because yeah, Captain America goes back. Technically, he stays on that in that time, which he stays with Peggy. So it just makes it complicated because then it's supposed to be a new parallel branches from that, but he comes back to the actual timeline as an old person, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure how that works, and same thing with Loki. As Loki, you have the things called the TVA. It's just having them keep that all in mind. So I'm not really sure how that would work.
Yeah. No, my thing is just like it's just with dimensions and timeline is I see like for example that movie Interstellar, and they're talking about the fifth dimension, and I'm like, well, how is that compared to the Marvel, and it's and in the fifth dimension in Interstellar it was more like kind of like, hey, I can control the time. So he went back, Matthew McConaughey went back and was like, hey, let me go give the answers to my daughter and let her know how to help Earth and make her survive. And then you got the one with Marvel where it's like, if with the TVA and everything, if they go and they try to make changes to one timeline, the TVA corrects it. Or if you like for example, the grandfather theory is if you go back and kill your grandpa or your great-great-grandfather, like, would you still exist? And the answer, I mean, the theory of science is like, yeah, you would still exist because you pretty much are just affecting that timeline. So in that timeline, you wouldn't exist, but you currently exist in the timeline that you are for. Because if that was the case, then you wouldn't be going into the past if you had already killed it. If you had already killed your great-great-grandfather. So I think for me, it's just like that's kind of interesting, just to kind of see different timelines and different dimensions and kind of understand that, like, I don't know if you know anything about that or what you think about the thoughts on that one.
Well, first of all, I haven't seen it in the Ceelos, so don't have a lot of knowledge on that movie. But I think just with every other movie that regards time travel, where it's just typically what you think about is if you travel back in time, right, and you change anything in the past, it affects your future.
Yeah.
Right? But in the Marvel universe, it's not like that. So I mean, if you change something in the past, it doesn't affect, in this case, the present or the future. It just branches out a new world, a new timeline, right? So in that case, I mean, I just don't. Yeah, bro, I'm not really good at it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and it's
just. I mean, think about it in real life. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you could really time travel in real life, what do you think will really happen? You think if it actually existed, if you were to go back in time, do you think you would change your present self, or do you just think you could just create an alternate timeline?
Yeah. Well, I think I would hope, like, for me, it would be cool to, like, going for example those lottery tickets or stuff like that. Like, hey, this number no one picked. Like, well, I can just give myself, go back a few and be like, hey, this is the number that's gonna win. But then I come back and I'm still poor. Like, what the heck? It's just like, what was the whole point of me going back? But yeah, the other person in that dimension or that that timeline is
exactly, because if you look at it in the Marvel universe, how it works is technically if you were to go back in time, you're not making yourself the person that let that guy know or your past self know to get those lottery numbers. You wouldn't be rich. It would be that person in that timeline at that time. That person will be rich. So now you have that version of Javi being rich because you won the lottery, but then you come back to the present time, so that technically you're still the same that you were in.
Yeah, so
I mean, but if you take it how you see it in movies, technically that's how it should be. You go back, you change that at the past, you give yourself the winning lottery numbers, and then you come back as to the present. That should, come all together, and you be rich at that time. So I just think it's so like crazy thinking. I'm just like, how like it'd be nice, but then I'm like, then what's the whole point? It's like, why even worry about the whole like inventing time travel or stuff like that if it's really not beneficial? But going back on that, seeing those pictures of those people being taken, I don't know if you've seen those, but it's like they see people walking by with cell phones back in the 50s, 30s or 20s, or kind of like seeing like, how does that even exist, and what is that person doing there? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you see those type of things, but I mean, there's always an explanation to them, right? I mean, the reason one I've seen is when the guy looks like he has a camera or a phone.
Yeah.
But then they go on and explain it. That at that time there was this type of technology. It was just very expensive to achieve, right?
So like us, like certain, like poor class or whatever it is, unless you're like the 1% or someone that's invented a company and is doing well, then they can afford that type of.
Yeah, because when you think about it realistically, man, if you really think that time travel is out there or has been done, what do you think things would have, like, people in power that have that?
Yeah. Things
would change? Or, I mean, like I said, we don't have no idea how time travel would work.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you gotta think that as conspiracy theories, it wouldn't make sense, right? Because, that guy went back in time. Let's just say he did, right? Let's just say that picture's real, there are time travelers, right? That guy went back to do what? What did he achieve by doing that? Or did he just want to go back in time to see that event?
Yeah.
Right? So I just think if that was the case, why wouldn't this person change something? Or maybe he did. Maybe he did go back in time, and then that's the person that created something in the world,
Yeah, I mean, kind of going. Yeah, it's crazy thing. Just like, that's so much.
There's just so much theories out there, man.
So much, yeah.
And then you think about it, like you think about time travel, and with Marvel and their new phases, where it's just a multiverse saga, right? What do you think in the real world where there is a multiverse?
Yeah.
For even us, right? So they say if you dream, when you're dreaming and you dream of yourself, that's you.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
In the other dimension, right? So you think about it, and it's just like, is it true or not? I mean, it's just theories that you have, but I really think it's true. Or
I feel like, I mean, it's just so much out there. Like, I mean, thinking like, what if it's true? Like, I also heard deja vu. Mm-hmm. Deja vu is also part of like, it's kind of like saying like it's happened, but you don't realize it happened, or it's something that you were meant to be at that point of in time, and that's why you see that deja vu, because either if another person from another dimension went through it, mm-hmm. and now it's like your turn. But it's just even crazy thing, because I also heard like it's like if you look at not just the movie but everything, it's like they tell you don't have free will. Your free will is kind of like it's already determined. So if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna grab this microphone, that microphone was already predetermined of you grabbing that microphone. So it's not like you change anything. For example, right, like going back and because we brought up the whole Marvel topic is just like with Loki, right? It's like that's where I think I heard it. It's like he already like knew that he was gonna grab this and this from like it was a king, King of the Power, because he's like, yeah, I already know that this is happening because it's already predetermined. To think of that, like even in just general, like that's crazy to even think like we're meant to be here at this moment, you know.
So you think like simulation, right? You just think that your life is already, it's already planned out, right? Like someone, in this case, maybe God, right? In this case, someone is controlling this, right? He already wrote this a long time ago, and this time it's. So I just think like free will. I mean, we all have free will, right? Because how can we determine that, you know? Like, what if you say pick up the mic, but how would they know? Like, I'm thinking of that situation, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy to think though, because then it's kind of say, oh, well, they already wrote that.
Yeah.
You know, they already did that for you. So it's just very, very. So this thing is just very. All this stuff is like tricky to think about, but I'm pretty sure that's why, I mean, science and all that stuff they call all this BS, right? I mean, there's always a theory behind things, or conspiracy theories over everything. But I just think there's always an answer to it, right?
But I think what differentiates us from scientists is Google, you know. We got Google.
You got Google, you believe everything Google
tells you? So if I'm searching something and I'm like, you know what, I had this dream or this, Google's telling me, dude, you're crazy, so it must be right, you know. But if a doctor telling me or a scientist like, hey, you're not, it's I'm like, oh well, I guess I'm not, you know. It's a theory.
Yeah,
the theory is that I'm crazy, you know. But only
you can't listen to Google all the time, dude. Because I mean, you Google something about like, I have a headache, right? And tells you you're gonna die. You're not gonna listen to that first Google search you're gonna find, right? So I just think it comes down to all that stuff, right? I mean, once you see it, to believe it. I mean, think about it. I mean, going back to all these theories and stuff, it's just kind of like aliens. A lot of people didn't believe in aliens, right? I mean, people would say, oh, it's just conspiracy theories, or it's just. And it's been scientific proven that there is no aliens just because of this. But then you come around and you have NASA finally admit, like, hey, this is out there.
Yeah.
You know? So you're kind of like, oh, okay. So all this time we believe that it was just all BS and people were just crazy. Yeah. People were being kidnapped by aliens. We would call them crazy. Yeah. But then maybe now you're like, oh, dang, maybe it is true. Yeah. So I mean, once you see Channel for reals and be like, oh, maybe this, we're the dumb ones, right? Because we didn't believe in that. But until it's proven, then you can't really.
Yeah. Speaking of like aliens and UFOs, it's like you know, I was told as far as the ocean, you know, I think they only just have discovered or, you know, known like about 4 or 10% of the ocean. Mm-hmm. So what else exists there, you know? Like
it's crazy,
you know, like 10%, and then you see some of those, like when they go, they do whatever the depth that they've gone so far, and they see type of fishes that exist, you know, but like they have to adapt, you know, they either see through or whatever it is, you know. To me, it's just crazy to think like what's out there, you know, in the ocean and also in space.
Well, yeah, I mean, talking about that, I mean, 10% is a little bit, dude. There's a lot of things that hasn't been discovered, so. I mean, obviously we talk about Marvel in those movies, but also with like space and ocean, like you know, the theories and stuff. Like that's where the Meg is at, you know, the big. I don't know if you've seen the movie Meg, but it's just a big shark, like a huge shark.
Is that the one where they build like the infrastructures or whatever down in the ocean and? Kinda,
and then it just scientists believe that in that movie it's just that you haven't reached the bottom of the ocean. Mm-hmm. So they dig, and I guess it was just a cloud. People thought it was like the bottom, but it wasn't really the bottom, it was just a cloud. And then they went underneath that, and it turned out to be other species. But I mean, and then that's when the actual big shark was there. Which I think about it, I mean, who's to say that can't be true either, you know? Because 10% of the ocean has only been discovered. Yeah. So what's out there? Yeah. In space too, like who... I know we've gone to the moon and stuff like that, but there's planets in our own solar system that no one has gone to. We've only taken pictures and all that type of stuff, but who's to say that there's nothing beyond that? Yeah. You know?
I mean, it's like the James Webb, right, what that just got put up in space to show images. and it's just crazy to think the images that are coming back. But then like, dude, like, I don't even think it's got even gone out of the Milky Way galaxy, and just think how what more is out there. And for me, it's just like bring us back. Like, if our planet is, you know, there's other planets out there, there must be other life out there as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
which is, I mean, it's a valid point to see. And I'm not the most educated in space and the ocean and all that type of stuff. But as a person, you think like, why else can there not be something else, right? There's an Earth, right? You would think that somewhere far, that we're being told that the space just goes on and on and on for millions and millions of light years away. It's like, was not to think that, hey, maybe there is an Earth thing, an Earth planet, right? So it's just stuff like that. That who's to say that it doesn't exist? Or same thing with the ocean. Like, who's to say that there's nothing deeper than the? Then when you go down deep, you're gonna find something like a big shark, right? A mega big shark. So I just think it's just like with all that out there, like I said, until it's not proven or not proven, then we can't. All we can really do is just theorize, right? So that's why we have all these theories. Yeah, no,
that's crazy thing. I mean, for me, something that I just, you know, saw recently, and also, I mean, I guess to make it easier for the listeners and is the movie Lightyear, right? Where he travels, he's trying to get to this speed of light, and as he's trying to get there, he doesn't reach. I think he reaches about 87% of it, right? But when he comes back, 4 years have already passed, and you start thinking like, how is that even possible, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, and then you got in the Interstellar where it's like when they were on that planet and every tick was like, I think a minute was 7 years or whatever it was, you know? And it's just like to think like, man, like if you're traveling at the speed of light and by the time you come back, it's already, who knows, like, you know, I mean, it's a theory that it might be 10, 20, 30, 40 years, right? But what would be your thoughts if you, like, you know, for some, you know, reason in the future, they're like, hey, you know, Ceelos, we got a project, or we want you to see if you can travel from this area to this area. We got the technology to come back, but then when you come back, 20 years already passed, and you know, and 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden you're like, but you know, they're telling you the mission's only like a week or so. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, how would you feel? Like, and when you come back, you're like, yeah, I'll accept it. You know, you're like, we'll take care of your family. You know, we'll provide. We'll pay this. We'll pay whatever off that you got. You know, and then but all we want you to do is do this experiment.
But I mean, is it disclosed that I know that, hey, by you doing this, just know, yeah, it only takes a week for you, but just know that it's gonna be in our time, it's gonna take 15, 20, whatever years you want to say. Because in that decision, I mean, like, if I knew, like, for example, Lightyear, that if I knew when Buzz went that, and it happened to be, I mean, he knew after and he kept doing it, right?
Yeah.
But at the very beginning, someone like, for me that has a family, it's not as easy for me to accept and say, hey, okay, now I understand. Maybe if nobody knew, then you're like, okay, I want to do this and travel because it was just disclosed that it was just a week.
Yeah.
But then it turns out like, oh crap, it's actually, you did it, awesome, but hey, 20 years went by. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I don't want to do it again, you know?
Yeah.
But that type of stuff is hard, dude, because I mean, even if you know or you don't know, it's hard because how would you be okay to miss 20 years of your family's life, mm-hmm. right? Like, how do you go about that? Like, you just can't miss 20 years of your life.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just very tough. I mean, it also depends on the person, right? For me, I have a family, so I mean, it just makes sense not to take that sort of job. Yeah. But a person that doesn't really have nothing, well, I mean, everyone has family, right? But it's something that they are willing to just, you know, to do, then I think they would do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it also comes down to, what it is. Is it because we're saving the world? Is it because we're stuck in a place like from Lightyear?
Yeah.
You need to get out of here? And that also comes into play, but
Yeah, but I mean, like, okay, let's use that, right? Like they say, like, well, this is gonna help humanity, you know, because we're able to get you to that planet that we want to inhabit, and then their calculations are telling you 2 years would go by, right? So you're thinking like, oh yeah, 2 years. Even here, right, for us, like 2022, right? You're thinking like, man, like it's gone by so fast since the first time we met to now at this point. You're like 2 years, yeah, like 2 years to save my children, knowing that they tell you for some reason, be like, and this is all like, you know, theories and kind of just examples, but be like, you know, this is in 10, 15 years, something's gonna happen. So are you willing to take 3, 4 years of your being away from being with your family, you know, so you can help us save humanity? And then when you come back, that we miscalculated, and it was actually like 20 years. You know, so it's like, yeah, like it's like
at that point, like at that point,
we forgot to add the zero. You know, at the end, you're like, oh, thanks, you know.
It's like at that point, it's like, cool, I did it to save humanity, but the people I care about are no longer here. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, probably kids and stuff like that. Yeah, but at that point, it's like you saved humanity, but you didn't save the people that you love. You know? Because I mean, I think it's cool. If it is to save humanity, you want to obviously take the risk, right? Someone's telling you that it's only 2 years. You're like, yeah, I want to save humanity, right? You want to be that person that saves humanity. And I think part of listeners will take that approach too. But it's just like, once you come back, you're like, oh, dang, it's been 20 years. It's like, if I wonder if I go fast enough, can I go back in time?
And then you come back and there's the worst paper sitting in.
It's been another 20 years.
And then there's, you know, like some of the worst papers already sitting in, like they've been sitting there for 5 years. They did like 24 and it's already 20.
Yeah, it's like
44. You're like, oh, thanks, like 2 years gone by.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, yeah, in theory, what if I go the other way?
Yeah.
Would I go back in time?
Yeah.
But
it's just you know, crazy things just to even think about, like you know, time travel, dimensions, and you know, ocean, space, whatever it is, you know, and even just, you know, everything like that. But and for me, I'm so more intrigued for what, now that the Marvel's movies talking about dimensions, it's just like I got more intrigued and more interested into looking into that, you know.
Well, I think it opened everybody's eyes, right? Even people that weren't Marvel fans, or are Marvel fans, right? The fact that you're seeing that and bringing it into life, like I feel like now, because Marvel has gotten so big, right? More people not necessarily question it, but ask the question, like, is there really some sort of time travel, or is there really dimensions or the multiverse and that type of stuff? I think like people ask more questions of, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's just because of Marvel.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, yeah, I'm glad, because like for me it's good to even talk about it, right? Like, because we wouldn't be. It's way different things, you know. You talking about Marvel. I wasn't a big fan of Marvel. I started kind of getting into it more as a phase 3, and now I'm more of a, you know, liking it and stuff. And it's great to just kind of get people talking about it. So now I can talk to you, who's a Marvel fan, and be like, "Whoa, did you know this about this movie?" Or even, you know, this article or this research I did, or not research, but like I looked this up, and, you know, kind of, it was interesting to know about. It's kind of same thing with the movies, you know. They are really basing it off certain things, the theories that are out there, you know.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm just glad that we're able to just experience all this stuff, man. Like, I mean, I consider myself a hardcore Marvel fan. I mean, I might not know everything in Marvel. I mean, I try to stay up to date and like get knowledge and all that type of stuff, but I mean, it's kind of hard just because there's so much content being pumped up. But I'm just glad to be part. It's a good time to be alive, you know.
Yeah.
You see all this stuff. Kids growing up, I mean, me growing up, I was a huge Spider-Man fan watching those cartoons, right? And then you see this whole, the Spider-Man movie, how they all got the 3 Spider-Mans, right? It's just, it hits your heart because you're just so happy to see that.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad I'll be able to see it, and it might and for people that have like Marvel because of the movies, the Marvel Studios, and all that type of stuff, and they have questions about like the CGI or Phase 4. I don't really get. It's not like Phase 3 where we had all these like Endgame. You had this awesome movie. It's just be patient. You'll have I know what Marvel is doing, and you'll like what's coming up. You just have to be patient. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of content being produced, so I just think if we stay patient as fans, we may get something even better than Endgame. So, but we just gotta be patient. The CGI, I understand the CGI may not be the greatest, but hey, at least we have some CGI. I mean, I don't know if you've seen past movies with CGI. Back then, you were like, "Whoa, this looks amazing," but then you see it now, you're like, "Well, that's
even better."
Yeah, so it's just like it's just be patient, you know. So I'm just happy to be able to just witness all this type of stuff, you know.
No, yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good, and I mean, just to kind of see where this goes, and just everything, you know, like continue to just look more into it and see how what's our thoughts behind all that, and what can also
just
change.
don't just stay up on all that stuff, you know. Just don't watch DC. Just kidding. But no, I mean, DC's alright. I mean, I like the new Batman movie. It's not, but
I don't know. I mean, I think for some reason I used to watch DC thinking it was part of Marvel, and now it's just like,
dang, bro, that's disrespectful.
You know, but now it's just kind of like I don't even know why I want to watch DC. You know, I don't think I see any of Aquaman
and like these content creators that talk about all this stuff, like Marvel, and they're just all about movies and comics and superheroes, all that type of stuff. They even I don't know if you heard, but in DC they canceled Batgirl, which is an upcoming movie that was coming out, and they just canceled that movie. And I think DC was canceling some other projects, or Warner Brothers, was canceling some other projects. Oh, wow. So I just think I mean, if I was a hardcore DC fan like I am a Marvel fan, if you were to tell me, hey, we're not gonna take out Ant-Man, we're gonna cancel it, I would be like, yo, what the heck? Yeah. So I could just imagine those fans that are hardcore DC fans. But I mean, that's why I go back to the same thing. What I'm saying is, understand that Marvel's taking out all this content for fans like you and I, taking it out to please us, right? And I'm not expecting every Marvel movie to be an Endgame movie, right? So I just think if we sit back and admire what we're watching, then we'll be happy, because you could think back and be like, hey, I could be a hardcore DC fan and just be disappointed that, hey, I don't get to watch Batgirl, or I don't get to watch Henry Cavill as Superman anymore, you know, that type of stuff, you know?
I think the last Batman I watched was Batman and Robin. What's the one with
it's like
Arnold?
the dark
with Arnold? Batman Beyond or something?
As a Batman Beyond or Batman Returns, something like that, dude.
Batman don't come back.
Yeah, Batman. There's enough Batmans, dude. You just got the Robert Pattinson Batman, dude. It's like, after you just barely got Ben Affleck as Batman, but now Ben Affleck is coming back for Batman.
For the Aquaman.
For Aquaman, and he's
no. Or the
Flash movie.
No, I thought it was for the what's their Avengers version?
Justice League.
I guess. You know, like their
Justice League is like Superman, Wonder Woman.
Their Swap Me version, you know.
The Swap Me version. The Great Value version.
The Great Value, you know. It's like Kirkland and
like Kirkland.
What does Sam still got?
Members Mark?
Yeah, Members Mark, that's it, you know? It's like, but hey, I'll take $20 off to get that membership. What do you guys, do you have anything else you...
No, man, the only thing I can say is just everybody out there that's listening, just, if you're not a Marvel fan, be a Marvel fan. It's just beautiful movies that you get to see, awesome characters, all that type of stuff. I just think if, like I said, we just watch those movies and just truly enjoy them, I mean, it's a good watch, you know? Even if because I know people out there are not even superhero fans, they haven't watched any Marvel movies, any DC movies, they just don't like any superhero movies, right? So I just think if they give it a chance, I mean, they'll probably end up liking it, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, my thing too is kind of like, the listeners out there, you know, have your, you know, kids or even yourself, like, start just looking into, like, the whole space, you know. Eventually it's going to come down to, like, how, you know, topics and talks about how to save the planet and all this. So just, you know, look into that. It's kind of interesting to know and see, and oceans, whatever it is, you know. We live in this beautiful planet, and kind of just so much out there that we, you know, we should look into and see. So I mean, yeah, that's kind of I think for what I have and for what you have.
And yeah, I mean, this is just episode 1, so I mean, we're not really going in too much in depth. But I mean, then again, I'm not a professional. I don't know most of the stuff, and people are like, "What? Oh, I listen to this guy," right? But I mean, it's just you gotta like when you see it often. Like I said, we go back to the same thing that we were talking about. When you hear all these things, Marvel is a topic that everyone is talking about, whether you're a fan of it or not, right? So don't just take my word for it or your word for it, right? Just go and just listen to what's out there. You know?
Yeah. So we'll be posting more episodes. Like I said, season 1, episode 1. We will be posting this in social media. You know, but if you do have, and then that, if you do have like a topic that, you know, you want us to talk about or kind of share it next time, is you know, just let us know. Either let us know on our social media accounts, and also just at the email, which would be cjo.digital@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll, as we keep going with this, we'll have one direct inbox directly for our podcast.
With like questions and stuff like that. Or correct us too. We might be saying stuff, nonsense here. We might be.
Hey, but
hey, if you see something like, hey, that's not true, then just let us know. You know,
if you're scientists out there, mind your business. You know? I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but
it's like, bro, it's been proven there is no trouble. You know?
So we got it right now, you know. But
I mean, if you have questions or stuff like that, or corrections, just let us know.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining us here in our very first episode here. We're continuing to bring you more content, and yeah, like, you know, again, it's your boy Javier, you know, CJ, whatever you want to call me, and then we got Ceelos over here. Caritas,
I like your voice, CJ.
So you know, you just let us know. But thank you again, and we're gonna end it. This has been brought to you by Carlos Ceelos Casita. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. Ceelos signing out.
Peace.